How's it going, everybody? Bryan Alvarez here on Wrestling Observer Live. We are here every day, Monday through Friday, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, Sundays, 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern. We got a lot to talk about in the show today stemming from last night's Raw, and I have a feeling that one of the most talked about things tonight is going to be the new WWE 24/7 title. Was announced yesterday by Mick Foley. There is a new championship in WWE, the 24/7 title, and a scramble match took place. They basically had Mick Foley pull this belt out of a bag, horrible looking belt, announced it's the 24/7 title, didn't even mention the word hardcore. When he didn't mention the word hardcore, like, everybody started to boo. Foley was just like baffled. I don't blame him. I don't blame Foley at all for this. This totally did not get the reaction they were expecting. He said they were going to do a scramble. He put the belt in the middle of the ring, said whoever got it first was the champion. Whoever got it first was the champion. They did a reverse battle royal, basically. Everybody fighting to get into the ring and being unable to. Finally, Titus O'Neil got it. And then as he was leaving, Bobby Roode attacked him and got the title. And then later in the show, they did an angle where R-Truth beat Bobby Roode, won the title, and is now allegedly taking it to SmackDown. But he is being chased around the nation by Drake Maverick. I'm not making this up. So that was the debut of the 24/7 title. We can talk more about that. It didn't get over at all with the live crowd, but apparently a lot of people are excited about the possibility of a 24/7 title. I guess we'll see how it goes, but that's one of the big stories from Raw last night. Next week, allegedly, Brock Lesnar will tell us who he's going to cash in on and when. So I presume that means he's just going to announce Seth Rollins at the show in Saudi Arabia, but I don't know for sure. We've got an update on Ric Flair. We got updates on StarCast. We got updates on AEW. Tons of stuff. If you want to give us a call today, 844-411-5411 is the phone number. That is toll free, 844-411-5411. Text messages 425-780-7566. Back in a moment to kick it off with Mike Sempervive, Wrestling Observer Live. Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. So, the Ric Flair update first. Ric Flair has undergone his surgery that was scheduled for yesterday. Whitney Barlow, Flair's wife, told TMZ the doctor said the surgery was a success. Barlow also thanked everyone for the prayers and support they have sent during this difficult time. Dave Meltzer reported the surgery Flair was scheduled to have was a heart procedure. It was postponed from this past Friday in order to deal with some complications that needed to be taken care of first. Before the surgery was done, TMZ wrote that Flair was in good spirits. He had been talking to friends on the phone, was confident he would be okay after having the procedure. Though the surgery was a success, Flair will not be able to make the trip to Las Vegas and appear at StarCast 2 this weekend. The roast of Ric Flair was supposed to take place at Caesars Palace on Friday night and air live on pay-per-view. It does appear, and obviously this is a long way off, but it does appear there probably will be a third StarCast coming up in September. And if that is the case, I'm sure the roast of Ric Flair and everything else will take place there. But things apparently went well and everything is all right, so that's good news on the Ric Flair front. So yes, obviously, yes it is, Mike.
Thought that pause was for me. I wasn't sure.
No, I started it and then I realized, well, what's he going to say? So I was just going to move on, and then you agreed. All right, listen, everyone. Got a lot of message about this 24/7 title. This person says, 24/7 Scramble was the second coming of the TNA Reverse Battle Royal. Yes, it was. They are throwing whatever they can at the wall and hoping that something sticks. This person here says, WWE and Vince running the company itself is a joke that runs 24 hours, 7 days a week. It's mind-numbing to see how AEW has promised to focus more on serious wrestling and how wins and losses will matter. Here is WWE cracking jokes on their TV, making belts truly nothing more than just props. Person says, it was sad to see Mick Foley last night with all the 24/7 fiasco. The crowd gave 0, and I would even say negative reaction to that announcement. He was struggling through the entire promo. And finally, the 24/7 title is truly a disaster. It is the We Have Nothing For You championship, basically telling low mid-carders to go run around like idiots. You know, it's funny, on our board, we had a lot of people excited about the 24/7 title. I guess we'll see if some of them tune in here today or chime in on this topic here, but
I'm sure there are. Look, if you're just a pure sports entertainment fan, Like, some of the stuff that they did in the hardcore 24/7 era, it was really fun. It was really wacky. It was also something you couldn't take seriously. It's something that, with all of the issues that they have, is not, I don't believe, going to help matters too much, although maybe they have some sort of grand plan, but doesn't seem like they do. And the belt itself was a mix between like the WBC boxing titles and like a plastic, like cheap ring that you would get out of one of those little 25-cent like bubble display things at the grocery store. I mean, it was just, it fits in with what's going on because it feels chaotic. And it certainly, if you hear the stuff from backstage, which I'm sure you're going to talk about, how people don't know what's going on and things are being rewritten and everything else, the chaos falls perfectly into place.
Now I got something else I got to talk about. So this person here says, you and Dave missed last night that when Mick was talking about the third hour of Raw being more gritty, they turned off all of the LED screens, the Tron, and the crowd lights. Yes, they did do that, everyone. Did you remember that when you watched it? Anybody remember that? I heard a couple people mention it, but most people didn't.
Well, because some people noticed and didn't care.
Let me say something here, okay? So the show is in a shambles. This Raw show is a disaster. Like, the show wasn't that bad last night, but backstage, they're rewriting the show during the show. I mean, there was a script handed in a couple of weeks ago, like 5 minutes before the show started, and then there was another one 10 minutes before the show started. Now they're rewriting it during the show. I mean, the ratings are terrible. They're going up against the NBA playoffs, so it doesn't help, but they got SmackDown moving to Fox, and they need good numbers. They're doing focus groups. They're doing all of this. And it's like, this is what a company that has $7 billion does. They just waste a lot of money on stupid stuff. At the end of the day, if your Raw numbers are not great, let me tell you what's not going to help, okay? What's not going to help is, we're going to turn off the Tron in the third hour. We're going to stop shining the lights on the people. We're going to turn off those LED screens. We're going to make it more gritty. It's like, dude, are you kidding me? Like, that's what you came up with for a solution to this problem? You're going to... dude, how many times have they claimed everything is going to change and we're going to do a brand split and we're going to shoot SmackDown differently than Raw, and hey, we added some new camera angles, and hey, do you guys remember when they added LED screens? Yeah, that was a long time ago, and I mean, ratings still fell after that. I mean, this stuff doesn't matter. I got the pyro crazies talking about if they had pyro, the numbers would be better. Dude, get out of here. If you want to bring the ratings up, I mean, first off, you need to have some long-term booking. And long-term means more than, like, over the course of 3 hours. Like, there's so little real-life long-term booking that you can get behind. That's number one. Number two, you need to quit doing stupid swerves for the sake of fooling people that actually make your product worse. That's number two. Number three, you got to treat some people like stars. I mean, I am sick and tired of Baron Corbin. Okay, I'm going to rant about Baron here in a second, but as sick and tired as I am of this guy, like, if you're actually going to do Baron Corbin versus Seth Rollins, what in God's name is Baron Corbin doing losing to Kofi Kingston in the main event of Raw? Like, are you out of your mind? Like, how are we... No one cares about Baron Corbin as it is right now. You're going to have him lose in the main event, and then you're going to try to push him as a championship contender? I mean, dude, Baron Corbin in the main event of Raw again? I mean, forget the finish. I mean, once again, I got a great idea to turn around the third hour of Raw. Let's turn the damn lights off, and then let's put Baron Corbin in the main event. Well, you know what? Maybe that's a problem right there. Like, I don't even get it. It's not that hard. You don't need a focus group to tell you what's wrong with this stupid show. You don't need to be polling people and saying, hey, what would make you watch in the third hour? Oh, I know. Let's unveil a third title. Or not even the third. I mean, somebody gave me the numbers. If you even knew, there's 18 titles in WWE right now. 18! Okay? So let's debut our 18th title. And you know what? We're going to say something special is going to happen in the third hour with this title. But we're also going to call it the 24/7 title. I mean, dude, you can't even get that straight. Like, if it's a 24/7 title, then it doesn't need to be restricted to the third hour of Raw, because there's 24 hours in a day. It should be there in the first hour, the second hour, and every other hour during the day. I mean, dude, This thing, I was furious when I started hearing about, we're going to make we're going to fix the third hour. And one of the things we're going to do is we're going to turn the lights out in the crowd. And we're going to make it look more gritty. Dude, this ain't going to make, I can't swear on the air, this ain't going to make a bit of difference. Not one iota of difference. Like, get with the program. There's real problems here, and the lights on in the crowd isn't one of those problems. Hello? I feel better now.
Breathe. Big, deep inhale.
Oh, get out of here, Mike.
Exhale.
You're going to make me even more angry. You know,
Why?
When I was little, my mom, when I was angry, she would go, shh. How well do you think that did? It didn't do well at all. It made me even more furious. When I'm mad, I don't want to hear calm down, and I don't want to hear shh. I don't want to hear take a deep breath. I want to hear, you know what? We got a better idea. We're going to leave the stupid lights on because it doesn't matter.
Hey, look, aesthetics do matter. They do matter. And if you're going to mix something up with that shit,
Come on. Get out of here.
They matter if you have some meat behind it. And like you said, there is no focus group that is needed to tell you what's wrong with that show. And it's the guy that's leading the charge on that show because you got so many talented people there and you got so much hullabaloo and commentary coming out of that company where there's a lot of people who are frustrated and kind of throwing their hands up and going, well, what do you want us to do here? And there's not much you can do when he's sitting there and he's pulling all the strings and he's thinking what we're doing is working and I can turn this thing around. And this is what we've got. Again, go ahead. I know you're reloading here as we go to break.
I'm done.
You sure?
It's just stupid.
You positive?
It's just dumb. Dude, the Baron Corbin in the main event, I can't even tell you how many times Baron Corbin's been in the main event, and it's obviously a failure. The third hour is just dying every single solitary week. And their great solution is, we'll put him in the main event again, but this time we're going to turn out the lights. I mean, come on. Seriously? It's infuriating to me. Dude, if I had $7 billion, the good that I could do for this world, and they're doing focus groups trying to figure out why people aren't watching the third hour and coming up with this crap. Back in a moment, Observer Live. Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. So this person here says, I agree with Mike. The aesthetics definitely do matter, but at this point, it's just a Band-Aid instead of an actual experience. Listen, now I'm going to put money on the line. That's how mad I am. Okay? Obviously, if you had a darkened arena and you put a light bulb over the ring, okay, obviously that sucks. It ain't going to fly. But once you achieve a certain level of production, this crap doesn't matter, okay? You know what's cool? Those LED boards and the LED posts. It didn't make a damn bit of difference from when they had normal ring posts. How many of you even noticed that the pay-per-view on Sunday, they didn't use the LED? They used the regular ring post. Anybody? Anybody notice? I heard about it, but nobody seemed to notice, okay? So listen, the first person that can find me one aesthetic change that led to a long-term positive difference in ratings, I'll give you $100. Because you ain't going to find one. They've done 1,000 of these over the years. It doesn't make a bit of difference.
I'm not arguing that. I'm not going to get set.
Well, this guy thought you were.
Of an argument of that. No, what I'm saying is aesthetics matter. What we talk about when it comes to that show, one of the aspects of it is it has looked the same for the last 25 years. It needs a change. Kevin Dunn probably needs to sidestep. Things do need to be done to the look of that show. So aesthetics, yes, they do matter.
Okay, so
they are. No, because I'm not arguing this. Okay.
Well, I'm going to argue
what I'm
it,
saying
so go ahead.
is there is a great. What I'm saying is it is part of a bigger problem, and the biggest problem they have right now is obviously the content of that show. I'm not going to give them that much credit to fall on their press release of basically, well, we're turning the lights off, and this is good. I'm not giving them any credit for that, okay? And it's not really something that should be argued because there is an issue with the look of the show and the presentation of the show. Just because the issue with the content and Baron Corbin in the main event and storylines that don't make any sense, I know that takes precedence, but there are aesthetic things that do actually matter. The same way announcing matters, the same way a lot of matters, and a lot they're screwing up.
If they blew this show up and they went into their warehouse and they took the Nitro set that I'm sure they own after they bought that company and they totally redid Raw to look like Nitro in 1999, it ain't making a bit of difference. If they hire the people behind the NFL or whoever does great production for real sports, The Fox people, if they go to Fox and their Fox production people do a brand new SmackDown set and they change everything and there's no ramp and everybody comes from the ceiling or whatever their wacky idea is, it ain't going to make a bit of difference. None. There are far bigger problems on this show. If this show turns around and they want to add some, like an LED mat, or you look at the mat and it's like made of LED or whatever, like that stupid Bray Wyatt thing with worms, knock yourself out. But it's not going to make a bit of difference. None. Zero. It's all about the show sucks. And they're looking for stupid things to try to make things better instead of looking at what the actual problem is. It's infuriating. Great, there were no LED boards at the pay-per-view. Who cares? It didn't make a bit of difference. Nobody even noticed. Most people didn't even notice all the change you did in the third hour because it doesn't matter. I'm going to punch my computer. Don't even get me to the Outback menu. You're on the air. What's up?
Hey, what's up, guys? Tim in Miami. Bryan, I got something a little bit different I want to complain about. Like, I'm all for using jobbers and enhancement guys to get over main roster talent, but do we really have to turn Ricochet into Barry freaking Horowitz here? And when you compare, like, the way they're treating Ricochet to the way they're treating Lars Sullivan, with Lars, like, beating 3 guys, you know, he's got this killer video package. They have, like, Hornswoggle and Peter Dinklage holding the camera and make him look like he's 100 feet tall. And Ricochet is doing clean jobs 3 out of 4 weeks. And the other thing that really, really irritated me about that match, right, Cesaro's in control. He throws Ricochet outside. They go to commercial. They come back from commercial. Ricochet's in control of the match. The crowd is chanting, "This is awesome." And we didn't even see the awesome part.
Yes.
This company tried to get themselves nominated for an Emmy.
Yeah, good luck.
Shows you the good part of the show. It's ridiculous.
Well, I can't believe I'm going to defend the Ricochet thing. I'm not really going to defend it, but, I mean, the way they did it, in their minds, they were protecting Ricochet. He's all taped up. He's all beat up. He gets bullied into the match by Cesaro. He's a valiant babyface fighting to survive, and he gets beat. Like, in their minds, they weren't trying to bury the guy. This is not like the Revival, where they're going out of their way to try to bury the Revival 9 times out of 10. Then, of course, one week they decide they're going to just win over the Usos. But the point of this is, I'm not going to complain because I've been wanting them to do something with Cesaro for years, and they finally did something with the guy 2 weeks in a row. So, I'll take it. I got bigger problems.
Take one of the guys who's fighting over the Geek Championship and let him job to Cesaro. I mean, plucky underdog is not going to get Ricochet over, and he's the most talented.
But that's the only thing they know how to book, dude. You know this. That's the only thing they know how to book is plucky underdog who deserves better. That's literally the only babyface they can book. That's what they did with him last night. He was a plucky underdog who deserved better. I'm sure they're thinking it's going to get him over.
It's not going to get him. It's going to kill him.
I don't know about that, but thanks for the call, dude. I appreciate it. I always appreciate Tim in Miami sending me all those pictures of his winged eagle just to make me angry. Let's go to the phones. You're on the air. What's up?
Hello, this is Sir from France. I don't know if you actually talk about it, but I was thinking about what you said during the radio about the 24/7 title. And I'm just wondering if there was something to do about the third hour that they're making, maybe because they actually will display the video packages of all the title changes that may be happening.
I see. So in the third hour, they'll keep us up to date about how many times the belt changed during the week?
Yes. And maybe also there will be some change during the third hour. So I think that's what Big Buddy meant.
Well, it's possible. I mean, I want to thank you very much for the call all the way from France. I'll save you your dime right there by letting you go. But Foley, I think, just got all flustered there because there was no reaction to his promo.
And he doesn't have any teeth.
And he has no teeth. I don't know what was up with the no teeth.
Your mouth gets dry and whatnot.
He mentioned having no teeth, but he had fewer teeth than usual. He could barely cut a promo. But, I mean, he was trying. I think the problem was the fans wanted to be a hardcore title. And he did not mention hardcore. He only mentioned Falls Count Anywhere 24/7 title. And the belt is god-awful.
I think it looked like a crappy game piece for something.
It's terrible. It looks like those things that people used to use when they were going to, like, seal a letter. What's that thing called you put on your hand?
stamp thing?
No, you seal a letter with it. It's like you put wax on there and then you put the thing on your finger.
Well,
somebody help me out.
Thing, I don't know.
That's what this stupid belt looks like.
But can I just rewind for a second back to the Tim in Miami call?
Yes.
The thing with the graphics on, and granted, I know some of it's got to do with the promotional thing, so they're going to do that, but at the times they do it and how they go to break and the high spot before the break, I mean, part of that's got to do with production. So, again, the aesthetics do matter because
it's not also aesthetics. It's just bad production.
It's part of the show. And also, Ricochet, I know you're okay with Cesaro. We're all okay with Cesaro getting a push. Of course we are, because Cesaro's awesome. But, like, Tim's right about Ricochet. It's like you have 977 people at your disposal to come up and do that. And I understand that because this turns into a what you and Dave, where Dave tries to explain WWE's side. And it's like, we know they can't book anything other than the plucky baby face who comes up taped up and gets beaten down and beaten. But, like, people are, even though they want us to forget, like, we do remember that this guy also lost to Bobby Roode. And yes, he's Ricochet, but, like, how many stars have they broken out? So, I mean, it's just, there's a million people that could have been used in place of Ricochet last night getting beaten by Cesaro. Why not just have Cesaro come out there reinvigorated with the new entrance and all that sort of stuff and just kill someone instead of having it be Ricochet?
That's just what they wanted to do.
It's part of your bigger problem. It's part of that big thing with the content and the meat of the show that is all rancid.
Let's go to the phones. You're on the air. What's up?
Hey, guys. It's Bryan from Toronto. I just wanted to kind of go in a little bit of a different direction here. I wanted to talk about Impact because I just listened to, Bryan, your show last night with Lance, the most recent one. And, of course, Lance always brings up that Impact is like the best show that no one's watching and all this sort of thing. But my issue right now with Impact is I watch it from time to time. Like, I watched their United We Stand show over WrestleMania weekend, and I watched it when it came to Toronto last few weeks ago. But there's always good wrestling on it, and the storylines for the most part are better. But at the same time, all of the casual fans that I ever talk to, the only things that they hear about are Disco Inferno winning a battle royal for knockouts, and the show goes to commercial and never comes back. And then at the pay-per-view in New York, you could hear the producer counting down the show, and then there were audio issues for the whole time. I'm just curious as to what you guys' thoughts are on trying to break that kind of mentality of, it's same old Impact, when obviously Don Callis is doing a very good job from a storyline point of view.
Like, what can they do?
Yeah, because, I mean, like, we as fans keep hearing about the same old, kind of Impact, and obviously it's not nearly as bad as when, Russo and Dixie Carter were involved. But,
well, we're right up on a break. I got to let you go, but I mean, the first answer, the obvious answer is they have to get off Pursuit. I mean, that's it. That's like number one. I mean, it doesn't matter how good the show is. They're on Pursuit. How many people here even know how to find Pursuit? I mean, it's just, that is the biggest number one problem that they had. If they were on Spike TV, I guess there isn't Spike TV anymore, but if they had a good television platform, there's hope. Without a good television platform, it's going to be virtually impossible to turn around when people think about Impact. Back in a moment, Observer Live. Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. This person here says, like WWE is doing right now, TNA gave themselves a reputation as a company who just keeps making the same mistakes, showing they don't know what they're doing, and then saying, we figured it out, we're better now. After so many years of that, people hear Impact Wrestling and just know it's the inept wrestling company. Well, they do have that problem. I mean, they were an inept wrestling company for over a decade, and it's going to take a long time to undo that. And WWE, in some ways, is getting into that. WWE or WCW had this issue there at the end where they could do nothing right. Like, this is one very important thing about the Monday Night Wars. Like, I watched those Raws from like 99, 2000, and there's some god-awful Raws, and there's some horrible stuff on there. But the reality is, when you're hot, you can make all sorts of stupid mistakes, and it doesn't matter. And when you're not hot, you can actually do some things right sometimes, and it doesn't matter. It's not going to turn around. Just like WCW in 2001, I'm not there yet, so maybe as I relive it, I'll realize that it wasn't as good as people said, but if I recall correctly, like, things weren't so bad in WCW in the year 2001, but they were about to go out of business. Like, they had some good things on television, if I recall correctly, and it didn't matter. There were some good things that they did in the year 2000, didn't matter. I mean, they were a cold company, and it's the same thing with Impact right now, and it's starting to feel that way with WWE, where this company, they've lost so much goodwill among fans that they can do things that are good, and it doesn't matter. Like, they're going to really need to do some things to turn this around. This is not a one-week thing. It's not a one-show thing. It's not a turn-the-lights-out thing. I mean, there's serious changes, long-term changes that need to be made and have to be made for a long time before this thing is going to turn around. That's just it.
See what the rating ends up being. 3 weeks ago was certainly the low point. It's when they had the 1.9 third hour. It's gone up the last 2 weeks a little bit. Last week it was like 2.6 to 2.4 and then fell off a cliff to 2.0, which is obviously why they're doing this nonsense in the third hour that they won't keep up with, longer than, again, like you mentioned about the 24/7 thing. We talked about this, I think, off air. I know I talked about this with other people. From a social media point of view, I mean, it's a boom. And anybody that remembers the DDT Iron Man title when they were doing that gimmick, I think it was WrestleMania 2 years ago. It felt like it kind of led into that where, 900 people, like the pizza delivery guy, literally had a chance to win that title as long as they had something that they could put up on social media. And ultimately, I mean, isn't that what this title is going to be? I mean, the fact that it's probably going to appear everywhere and it's a geek title and it's a title made, like McFoley talked about Legends, it's a title made for a sight gag. And okay, that's fine, but to be a focal point of the third hour of Raw, I can't see it sticking around that long. So I regardless of anything, they do need to figure out what they're going to do there. And like you've mentioned, Baron Corbin isn't that thing. And when you beat guys like Ricochet, then they don't become that thing because of all the 50-50. And the amazing part, too, about last night with Baron Corbin losing to Kofi Kingston, which makes, you should be happy about that. That's something we should be happy about. The champion beat the guy in the tag match who's going to be facing, but the problem is he's going to be facing Seth Rollins, who he's already beaten on the other champion. That's what didn't make any sense with all of that. And even more than having Baron Corbin in that mix. It's just, I don't get it.
Let's go to the phones here on the air. What's going on?
Hello?
Yeah, what's up?
Hey, how's it going, guys? I was just wondering, what are your thoughts on the agenting on WWE right now? Because I know the writing is shit, but what are your thoughts on?
We can't use that. We can't use that word. I had to cut you off. What do we think of the agenting? Depends.
Matches are repetitive. That's for sure.
Well, they're always going to be repetitive. But I mean, I have. Listen, there's a lot of good matches in WWE. Like the matches,
they don't have to be.
The matches really aren't the problem. Like, you can hate that Ricochet lost to Cesaro last night, but you know what? That was a really fun match. Like, if you take out the fact that you don't want to see Ricochet losing, him and Cesaro had a really good match. And last week on the Raw show, there was, good wrestling up and down the show. There was good wrestling up and down the show on SmackDown. The pay-per-view on Sunday, there was a lot of good wrestling on that show. The women's Money in the Bank was way better than I expected it to be. AJ Seth was awesome. It's one of the best matches they've had all year. The men's Money in the Bank was great. There's a lot of good wrestling. The only issue I have sometimes with the agenting is
Schoolboys in 3 hours?
Nah, these stupid finishes. A prime example is that stupid Charlotte, Becky, Lacey Evans finish at the pay-per-view. It was absolutely stupid. Lacey Evans runs out. She hits Becky with her move. And from there, it's like Charlotte should just spear her or boot her and pin her. Then it's Lacey's fault. Instead, Lacey hits her with her finish. Charlotte walks over there, and to swerve everybody, Becky small packages Charlotte. And then Charlotte kicks out and gives Becky one boot and pins her. So what did you accomplish there? Well, you told us that the women's right doesn't work, because Becky no-sold it. Becky didn't get beaten 2-on-1. She got beaten 1-on-1, so she looked weak. The big boot coming off a small package. I mean, yeah, apparently she's used the big boot before, but like, Becky hit a small package and then ate one boot and got pinned. The woman that pinned Ronda Rousey, everything about that sucked because somebody had to put in a small package to swerve you after Lacey Evans hit the women's right. Then it gets worse because the next day on the show, Becky has to come out and go, "Oh, Lacey, you cost me that match." It's like, no, she didn't. She punched you and you didn't sell it and you hit a small package. How did she cost you the match? She didn't. Somebody had a stupid idea to surprise people, and as usual, 95% of the time in wrestling, when you do something that doesn't make sense to surprise people, it sucks. So yeah, I got a problem with that, but in general, like, there's been a lot of good wrestling on WWE lately, so I don't have a problem with it. He asked. Don't swear on this show, everybody. Come on. Smarten up. All right, you're on the air. What's going on?
Hey, sorry, Brian. Let me try one more time. That was my
you're back? All right, I'll give it to you, but don't do that again. Go ahead.
Thank you, man. Sorry, ignorance. I was wondering, what are your thoughts on the agenting in the main roster? Because, I mean, I've heard Brett talk about it in shoots where he says it's just pure job guys that are agenting these top matches. And, I mean, like in NXT, they have Shawn and Hunter, and, well, the NXT roster's putting on great matches.
Well, I want to thank you very much for the second call there. I see it a different question. Dude, pure job guys, first off, they don't have pure job guys as agents. And a job guy is not somebody who sucks. I mean, it is if you're watching NWA Crockett. Those job guys sucked.
Well,
but, like, some of the best workers have been job guys.
George South.
Like, if you were a good job guy, you were so heavily respected because you went out there and you made people look great.
Mike Jackson.
Who in WWE now is a job guy that's an agent? Norman Smiley?
Oh, Black Magic was no job guy.
I mean, he wasn't the best worker in the world, but I mean, for crying out loud.
Good work. If you saw him in Mexico, you saw his technical style. I mean, yeah, and I know he's going to be known for the big wiggle, but hey, he even got that over. So.
Dave Finlay is awesome.
Damn right.
You know how many great matches I saw with Abyss? And I don't even like hardcore matches. Abyss is a I don't know how well he does as an agent, but Sanjay Dutt was awesome. They got plenty of guys that are great. They were great workers, whether or not they were world champions or not.
NWA
Adam
World
Pearce, for
Heavyweight
crying
champion.
out loud. Yeah. What do you mean jobbers? Get out of here.
Come on.
I know he didn't mean it like that, but I mean, listen. Shawn Michaels himself, I mean, he even said, "I'm not that great a trainer." Like, he understood. There are so many. This is not just pro wrestling, but you can find someone in every sport who will tell you this, okay? There are so many great athletes who are the best in their sport who will tell you, "Dude, I couldn't teach somebody how to do this. I don't even know how I do this. I just do it." I mean, you don't there's not a requirement to be like one of the best workers of all time to be a great agent. I mean,
Ted Williams, baseball player, okay, one of the greatest hitters of all time, was a horrible manager. One of the reasons why was because he could not understand how people couldn't play like him, and because it didn't come as naturally to them as it does to you. Some guys who are just great at something are not great teachers sometimes.
All right, let's go to the phones. You're on the air. What's going on?
Hey, Brian. This is Matthew in Louisville. Just wanted to talk about this third hour of Raw.
Barn?
I understand that nothing that they're doing is like a long-term planning. And obviously, if they did have long-term planning, maybe they wouldn't have to do things like this where they're just trying to keep the ratings from sinking even further. But I do think that it's an idea that may work short-term simply because a lot of people thought that it kind of, took them back to like the old-style Raw where everything was a little bit darker. And, I mean, maybe they can bring, like, Bray Wyatt in on the third hour. Maybe that'll help kind of, or, just maybe kind of give it a little more edgier product in the third hour. And maybe that could, temporarily keep the things from going, like, 20% drops from, the first hour to the third hour.
Well, I mean, listen, they got to just...
WWE hasn't had darker programming since 1985, though.
I mean, it's not darker programming. I mean, it's... Is there something in the third hour that people want to stick around to see? If the third hour does well this week, it is because they really tried. They tried to convince you that Brock was going to cash in at the end of the show. They pushed it and pushed it and pushed it incessantly for 3 hours. So if the show does a good third-hour rating, then that helped. But, like, I know this is... I don't even know why I have to explain things like this, but, you know, it used to be that at the beginning of the show, they would build up a main event, and they would push it for 3 hours, and they would deliver it at the end of the show. And, like, you stuck around to see it. Now, it's like, we build a big match at the end of the first hour, and we build a big match at the end of the second hour, and then we totally give up in the third hour, and we give you Baron Corbin.
Saturday night's main event.
And then they can't figure out, well, that was a little bit different because it started so late. But,
yeah.
I mean, you know, most wrestling shows, if they had a main event, they built the main event throughout the show, and then they delivered it at the end. WWE doesn't do that anymore. I mean, they can't decide whether they want to give up on the third hour or they want to actually do a third hour. Like, you watch this third hour sometimes, it's like, they gave up. I mean... And now it's all of a sudden, well, now we got to do something, so we're not going to give up, but we're still going to have Baron Corbin wrestle in the main event. And granted, you had the other two champions in the match and everything like that, but...
Well, yeah, I mean, that should mean something. And on behalf of them, I will note that they did audibly have Paul Heyman talking to Brock about, hey, you know, we're inside their heads right where we want to be. Why don't we come back next week? So they did just do that. Now, whether, you know, how that plays, whether anybody was awake for it, you know, whether they just, I'm sure they'll have it on all the Hulu and cut versions and things like that. I'm sure it'll probably be focused on, but, you know, will that matter or not? I don't know, but at least, you know, it looks like Brock is, or at least the threat of Brock being around is going to be a storyline that they're going to play with.
All right, this person here says, no one could possibly believe that Pyro would help ratings. No one could be that dumb. Well, I haven't had anyone say that it helped ratings, but I have people say that, oh, we really like it. This person here, while it didn't move ratings, Pyro was a positive and noticeable aesthetic added to the shows. Made entrances feel more flashy, and big wins feel even bigger when Pyro is going off and confetti is flying. Well, Pyro and confetti are two different things. They can still drop confetti. Back in a moment, Observer Live. Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. Hey, don't forget, there's a lot of stuff coming up this weekend, including StarCast. I will be there with Dave Meltzer. We're heading out there on Friday. A very busy weekend. Friday at noon, I got a wrestling show. I'll be killing young Logan Stunt a week before I face his brother Marco Stunt for Black Label Pro. Going to be a massacre. Make sure you check that show out. And then from there, we go to the StarCast panel, myself and Dave. I believe it's at 5 o'clock on Friday. And you can check this out at StarCastOnFight.com. StarCastOnFight.com is $59, not just for ours. You get 22 different shows, live and on demand, in HD, unlimited replays. No roast of Ric Flair. That one is not happening, but there is the Bret Hart and Tom McGee deal, Cody and the Bucks talking AEW, Sting, Taz, Dave Meltzer panel on Brian Pillman. There's a Guy Evans book panel. There's 9,000 different things. Well, 22. You can grab all of them at StarCastOnFight.com. And, of course, if you're there, you can meet up with us. Next day, of course, we've got a Q&A, which you can check out. The link to that is in the daily update if you want to join the Q&A. We have a few tickets left. We upgraded the room, so we now have double the capacity. So if you want to grab a ticket to that, info is in the daily update at WrestlingObserver.com. And then, of course, there is it's not All In 2. I always call it All In 2, but it's Double or Nothing coming up on Saturday night, so we'll be covering that as well. So all sorts of stuff. Check it all out, and we'll talk more about this over the next couple of days. And we are out of time. So thanks, Mike, as always. Callers and listeners, everybody in the studio. We're here every day, Monday through Friday, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern. Talk to you again next time. Wrestling Observer Live.